And today we are starting jQuery. So go ahead and get that pulled up. If anybody needs help adding jQuery, just go ahead and ask me. And David S., once you have it pulled up, would you mind reading this?
What is jQuery? jQuery is a fast, small, and feature-rich JavaScript library. It makes things like HTML, document
Traversal.
traversal, and manipulation, event handling, and animation much simpler. All the power of jQuery is accessed via JavaScript, so having a strong grasp of JavaScript is essential for understanding, structuring, and debugging your code. If you want to study JavaScript, check out our free JavaScript tutorial.
Okay. Oh, dang it. Well, what's jQuery? JavaScript library. Samantha, can you read this one?
What is jQuery? First, let's take a look at the example HTML manipulation with JavaScript. To get the element with the ID equals start and change its HTML to go, we will need to do the following. To do the same manipulation of jQuery, we need just a single line of code. The rest of my page actually isn't loading for some reason, so I gotta look at that. You will learn about the new syntax in the coming lessons, but as you can see, the code is much shorter and easier to understand. Another great advantage of jQuery is that you do not need to worry about browser support. Your code will run exactly the same in all major browsers, including Internet Explorer 6.
All right. So take a second and answer the next question. And to be fair, this could be done on one line too. All you would do is add the dot HTML at the end and then add equals go and not make it a variable. But anyway, this is still much shorter. Okay, so fill in the blanks to change the elements HTML to test using pure JavaScript var e and then e.innerHTML equals test. Jacob M., can you read the next one?
Getting started. You can download a copy of jQuery library from the www.jquery.com, or as an alternative, you can include it from a CDN content delivery network like Google or Microsoft. We'll use the CDN from the official jQuery website to start using jQuery. We will first need to add it to the head of your HTML document using the script tag. jQuery is a JavaScript library, so it has the JS file extension.
So let's go ahead and actually do that. Go ahead and copy this, and on your test page where you're just playing around with stuff, in the head of your document, go ahead and paste this right here so you can start to use jQuery. And then take a second to answer the next question. Okay. Fill in the blanks to include jQuery in your HTML, script, source. And if you had downloaded the jQuery file, then you would just reference the jQuery file. And probably we'd put static / the jQuery. But we're just going to do the CDN because CDNs are just as fast nowadays with internet being so fast. Rod, can you read this one?
Can you go back a second, please, Brandon?
Sure. So script, source, and /head.
Okay, I'm all set.
Okay. Roger, can you read this one?
Getting started. It is a good practice to wait for the HTML document to be fully loaded and ready before working with it. For that, we use the ready event of the document object. The money symbol is used to access jQuery. From here, the code accesses the document object and defines a function to be called when the document's ready event is fired. This prevents any jQuery code from running before the document is finished loading. Since the code above is used in almost all cases when using jQuery, there is a handy shortcut for writing it. The code performs the same task as the longer code above. If the jQuery syntax seems a little confusing, don't worry. We will cover it in detail.
All right, answer the next question.
No.
Okay. So which event is used to prevent any jQuery code from running before the document is finished loading? Ready. Will, can you read this one?
Not having the jQuery library in the head section and having the defined the document ready event, we can start our first jQuery manipulations. Let's change the content of the div element. This changes the HTML of the element with ID start to go.
Okay, so we'll just run this. So it did have start in there, but then once the document loaded, it changed the ID start, changed the HTML of it, the same as like inner HTML, to the word go. So and you can see how that would be useful with, like, say, for example, once a user clicks a button or like say enter some stuff and then clicks a button and you want to like display the answer to the screen or whatever, and you're changing the text that you had saying please enter blah 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 or whatever to, you know, here's your answer or something like that. Does that make sense to y'all? Okay. Take a second, answer the next one. And all this could be done with JavaScript. This is just kind of like a shorthand for it, but it's definitely, jQuery is used a lot. So it's definitely something you need to know, even though you could do it with JavaScript. Which symbol is used to access jQuery? The $. Michael East, could you read this one?
Yeah, sure. jQuery is used to select query HTML elements and perform actions on them. Basic syntax is $, selector inside quotes, .action, and parentheses. The $ accesses jQuery, the selector finds the HTML elements, and the action is then performed on the elements. For example given, looking back at the code from our previous example, this selects the element with the ID start and calls the HTML method for it. The HTML method is used to change the HTML content of an element. If you have used CSS before, you will notice that jQuery uses CSS syntax to select elements.
All right, go ahead and answer the next question. Okay, fill in the blanks to call the show function of an element with the ID menu. So just $, hashtag menu, because ID is hashtag in CSS and class is dot syntax in CSS, and then dot show, just that easy. Patricia, can you read this one?
Yeah. Selectors, let's have a look at all jQuery selectors. As you have seen in the previous lesson, the jQuery selectors start with the $ and parentheses. The most basic selector is the element selector, which selects all the elements based on the element name. Next are the ID and class selectors, which select the elements by their ID and class name, and then run the code and see how it works.
Well, that's not even an option here to run it, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll come across later. Oh, dang it. Well, this one's .demo. Which of the following selects all elements for the class? Since class is dot instead of hashtag, then it's .demo.
Cool.
Mark H, can you read this one?
You can also use the following syntax for selectors. Selectors make accessing HTML DOM elements easy compared to pure JavaScript.
So remember this one, the pseudo elements, and getting the first element, and then yeah, just all basic stuff. So, all right, take a second, answer the next one. Okay, select all the A links which are inside paragraph tags. So to do that, all you have to do is $P space A. And Lewis, can you read this one? And don't feel like you need to actually read all these, but everybody take a second and look at it real quick.
Useful selectors. All of these things. And don't try to remember all this, just know that they exist. You can reread this when you need to know more.
Yeah, that's like a lot of the programming you're learning right now. Oh, dang it. Well, this one's star. Bill, can you read the next one? Oh, I guess it's the quiz. So, well, the first one's $. I guess nobody needs to read this. Take a second and answer the next one. Okay, this is $ and function. Take a second, answer the next one. Okay, fill in the blanks to select the paragraph from the following HTML. Paragraph ID test. So just $, hashtag test to select it. Which of the following selects all H1 and H2 elements? H1, comma, H2. Okay, answer the next one. Fill in the blanks to select all P elements that are children of the element with the ID demo. So just $, hashtag demo, space P. All right. So, Bill, can you read this one?
Attributes. We can manipulate attributes assigned to HTML elements easily through jQuery. href, src ID, class style are all examples of HTML attributes. The attr apprentice method is used for getting the value of an attribute, for example, HTML. JavaScript, run the code above we selected and alerted the value of the href attribute of the A element.
Okay. Go ahead and answer the next one. So this is also really useful for getting like the user's input from like a form or something, so that you can store their input and then do something with it. Select all of the following, which of the following are HTML attributes? Class and source. And Brian A., can you read this one?
The attribute method allows us to set a value for an attribute by specifying it as a second parameter. This will change the href attribute of the A element in the provided value.
Okay, so let's click that, run that. Not moving. There we go. Oh, it's not, well, yeah, it's not alerting or anything, but but anyway, it would do the new one is what it would do. So fill in the blanks, change the image to file 1.jpg, $ attribute source, comma 1.jpg to set it to the new attribute. Just do this one. Fabian, can you read this one?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Removing attributes. You can also remove attributes from HTML elements. The remove attribute method is used for removing any attribute of an element. In the example below, we remove the border and class attribute of the table. Run the code and see how it works.
Okay. So we ran that and it went from having a border and to not having a border. And it removed the class attribute, which just named it table, but we don't really see that. All right. Well, actually, yeah, we do, because it's had the background color aqua and bold, and now it no longer is doing that since we removed the class attribute. Okay, so this one, drag and drop from the options below. Sorry, I got disconnected a second there. Let me do share screen again. Okay, this one, hashtag text dot remove adder and border.
Oh, Brandon, don't forget to record the screen.
Oh yeah, it is. It automatically started recording again.
Oh, okay,
Thanks for the reminder though.
okay.
Kevin, can you read this one?
Get content. There are several methods for manipulating the content of HTML elements via jQuery. The HTML method is used to get the content of the selected element, including the HTML markup. For example, notice that the HTML markup, the break tags, is also returned. If you need only the text content without the HTML markup, you can use the text method. The HTML and text methods can be used for all HTML elements that can contain content.
Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. So since the text right here is jQuery is fun, it's just alerting just jQuery is fun. But if we changed it to HTML, then we get the full HTML, including the bold tag and everything. So, and as you can see too, it's not going to return the p tags because we're just getting what's inside the p tags. So, all right, take a second and answer the next one. Okay, what is the output of this code? So we want test. So right here, we're doing with using jQuery, we're selecting the ID test, which is right here, but then we just want the text. We don't want the full HTML. So inside this, the only text is P. All right. Lewis, can you read this one?
Set content. The same HTML and text methods can be used to change the content of HTML elements. The content to be set is provided as a parameter to the method. For example, HTML, JS The code above changes the content of the element with ID equals test to hello. If the content you are setting contains HTML markup, you should use the HTML parentheses method instead of the text parentheses method.
Okay, go ahead and answer the next one. So fill in the blanks to change the content of the paragraphs with ID demo to bold tag high, maintaining the HTML markup. So hashtag demo dot the HTML, because we're going to be adding HTML, and then just adding the bold tags with high in there. Jacob, can you read this one?
Val, we have seen in previous lessons how we can manipulate the content of HTML elements using the text hashtag text mark and HTML quote method. Another useful method is the val quote method, which allows us to get and set the for values of form fields such as text box, drop downs, and similar inputs. For example, with HTML, JavaScript. Similarly, you can set the value for the field by providing it as a parameter to the val vote method. Getting a setting form field values is very useful when you need to handle form events and validation. We will cover events later in the course.
Okay, so let's run this one. So right now it says your name, but let's change the value to Brandon. Oh, why did that not work? Probably because it's defaulting. Hold on. It just keeps deleting it when it runs, but in real life, that's what would happen. All right. And go ahead and answer the next one. Okay, rearrange the code to get the value of the form field and set it as the value of the paragraph with ID demo. So as always, the $ function, the same as the document ready thing. And then our closing one at the end. And then inside, we've got our variable t equals get the user value, and then we're going to change demo, the text of demo, to whatever the value of the ID user was. Okay. Jacob, can you read this one? Or did you just read?
I just read, but I can read it again. I can read it.
It's fine. Patricia, can you read this one?
Sure, but I also just read recently, but yeah, I'll read it. Summer,
like the last one or just earlier today?
earlier, like not too long
Oh
ago.
yeah, I already restarted.
Oh, okay, cool.
Back to the top.
Okay, summary, the following jQuery methods are available to get and set content and attributes of selected HTML elements. Text sets or returns the text content of selected elements. HTML sets or returns the content of selected elements, including HTML markup. Val sets or returns the value of form fields. ATTR sets or returns the value of attributes. Remove attribute removes the specified attribute. Write code and test every method at least one time.
Okay. Go ahead and answer the next one.
Oh shoot, what happened?
Okay, this one, which method gets the value of an input field? Value. Lewis, can you read this one?
There we go. Adding content. As we have seen in the previous lessons, the HTML and text methods can be used to get and set the content of a selected element. However, when these methods are used to set content, the existing content is lost. jQuery has methods that are used to add new content to a selected element without deleting the existing content. Append inserts content at the end of the selected elements. Prepend inserts content at the beginning of the selected elements. After inserts content after the selected elements. Before inserts content before the selected elements. Let's see them in action.
Okay, go ahead and answer the next one.
Prepend.
Yeah, which method is used to insert content at the beginning of the selected element? Prepend. Kevin, can you read this one?
Adding content. The append method inserts content at the end of the selected HTML element. For example, similarly, the prepend method inserts content at the beginning of the selected element. You can also use HTML markup for the content.
Okay, go ahead and answer the next question. What's the result of the following code if the HTML contains P1? So we're selecting our P tag. We're adding 2 to it at the end because we're appending it. So it started with 1, we added a 2 at the end, and then we prepended a 1. So we added another 1 here. Bill, can you read this one?
Adding content. The jQuery after and before methods insert content after and before the selected HTML element. For example, HTML, JavaScript. Try it yourself to play around with the code.
Okay, so we'll run this. So we had just this ID demo, but really it didn't have any CSS or anything. So it started out just saying hi. But then we did before, so we're adding some HTML before, as opposed to append and prepend, which would just add it add it into like the text or whatever. We're adding HTML, so we're adding some title before, and then after we're adding the bold tag welcome. Go ahead and answer the next question. Can you use HTML markup for the after method? Yes. Brian A., can you read this one?
Adding new elements. The append, prepend, before, and after methods can also be used to add newly created elements. The easiest way to create a new HTML element with queries in the following. The code above creates a new P element, which contains the text hi and assigns it to the variable called text. Now we can use that variable as a parameter of the above mentioned methods to add it to our HTML, for example. This will insert the newly created P element after the hashtag demo paragraph. You can also specify multiple elements as arguments for the before, after, append, and prepend methods by separating them using commas. $ demo append variable 1, 2, and 3. The above method syntax for creating elements can be used to create any new element, HTML element. But for example, $div and div creates a new div.
Okay. But so yeah, you could do all that, or you could just add the HTML right here and just put hi inside it. Seems easier, but whatever. Oh, answer this one. Span $A. Okay, take a second and answer the first question on the quiz. Okay. So fill in the blanks to set the alt attribute of the image with ID in IMG and alert the value of its source attribute. So $ and then hashtag image to select the ID image dot attribute alt and set that to demo, and then alert and hashtag image dot attribute and source. All right. The text method returns the I should have given you a second. Returns the text content of an element, including the HTML markup. No, text just includes the text. HTML includes the HTML. Go ahead and answer the next question. fill in to get the value of the form field with ID name and set it as the text of the paragraph with ID text. So I'm going to go ahead and create a variable v and use the selector to get name and then get the value. And then the hashtag text, we're going to set the text to whatever the value was. Go ahead and answer the next one. What is the output of the code if HTML code is paragraph, A, span, B, function as usual, our closing, and then in there we do $, P, and then space span dot text. A is going to return AA because we took the span and changed the text of it from B to A. So we just get AA. Go ahead and answer the next one. Fill in the blanks to create a new div element with the text hi and insert it before the element with ID demo. So create a variable A and then $, change divs to text hi and the hashtag demo, add before that A, which is this right here. David, can you read this one? Oh, you're muted.
I'm trying to catch up. I'm way behind.
Oh, okay. Samantha, can you read this one?
Manipulating CSS. jQuery has several methods for CSS manipulation. The add class method adds one or more classes to the selected elements. For example, HTML code and CSS code. JS. The above code assigns the div element the class header to specify multiple classes within the add class method. Just separate them using spaces. For example, $div dot add class parentheses class 1 class 2 space class 3.
So you could see how this would be useful if, say, like user clicks something and then you want to change the style of something to look different, right? You just add a class that you've written for other CSS stuff, and then it's just change the whole style of whatever element you're tweaking. So Go ahead and answer the next question. Fill in the blanks to add the class names, text, and menu to the P element. P.add class text space menu. Mark, can you read this one?
The remove class method removes one or more class names from the selected element. For example, the code above removes the class red from the div element. Again, multiple class names can be specified by separating them using spaces.
Okay, go ahead and answer the next question. Which class which class name will the P blah 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 element have after the following code? So P add class C is, and then P remove class A and C. The only thing that, so we added C, so it was A, B, C, but then all we have left is B. Roger, can you go ahead and read this one?
Toggle class. Will the paragraph have a border after the code? Wait, hold on. I jumped too far. Toggle class, there we go. Methods toggle between adding, removing classes from the selected elements, meaning that if the specified class exists for the element, it is removed, and if it does not exist, it is added. To demonstrate this in action, we will handle a button click event to toggle a class. We will learn about the events and their syntax in the coming modules.
Okay, so go ahead and run this. And if we keep clicking it, it's going to toggle back and forth from the class being this red one and bold back to just normal. Go ahead and answer the next question. Okay. Will the paragraph have a border after this code? So we start by setting the style of the class test, which doesn't even have a class test in there initially, to solid, and then this runs, and the function add class test, but then is added, but then we're toggling the class, so then we've then removed the class. So at the end of the day, no. Here. or where are we? What did we just do?
We're on CSS properties.
12.1.
Ah, thanks. Will, can you read this one?
Hold on, I gotta backtrack.
Okay.
Similar to the HTML method, the CSS method can be used to get the and set CSS properties values. So for example, the HTML paragraph some text, CSS paragraph background color red, color white, and this I guess this is jQuery. The code above will alert the background color properties of the paragraph and is set to blue.
Okay, so we run this and it starts as red. Then once we've clicked that, it changes it to blue. And you can see, let's see. So paragraphs initially set to red, and then so after the alert, then it takes the P, changes the CSS to background color blue. Go ahead and answer the next question. So is this making sense to everybody? It's pretty straightforward so far, but is anybody confused about anything here, or is it all making sense?
It makes sense. It just seems that there's a lot of libraries and additions and things like JavaScript, React, and Vue, and Angular, and jQuery, and JSON. There's just a lot of moving pieces. It's kind of hard to wrap my head around the bigger picture.
Well, we're not covering all those. We're not covering React and Angular or anything. We're covering jQuery, and that's it. So big picture, the stuff we're learning is all you really need to worry about for now. And I know there's already a lot with that, but everything you're really going to need to do, you'll be able to do with the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, and then Python, SQL, and C#. So just focus on that and don't worry about, yes, there's a lot more out there. There's a million languages, Ruby, R, it goes on and on and on. But
I'm not messing with any of those. I'm just curious, or I don't really understand why there's so many different avenues. I guess from a, I don't know. I just, it seems very just spread across hundreds of different ways to do things.
yes. Well, that's because there's like literally thousands of computer programming languages. There's no standard. Wait, hold on. I could be wrong about thousand, but I feel like I've heard that before. Many. Yeah. Anywhere from 250 to 2,500, and well, this is saying 9,000. So, and a lot of that is because everybody wants their own thing. Like Apple created Swift because you couldn't just be happy with Objective-C, which they used to use and was more similar to stuff everybody else uses. Nope, they had to have their own thing. You know, like Google's Go or whatever, even though Google uses Python. Like individual companies just want to make their own thing or whatever. And so like there's lots of different options out there. But the only thing that matters is you need to know how to build to be able to build websites and mobile apps, right? So we're showing you the most direct way of doing that. That's one of the most common paths for doing that nowadays. And so yeah, so just don't worry about all the other options out there, because there's tons and tons and tons and tons of jobs for the path I'm showing you, and less so with some of these like other things that are like more rare languages. Like, yeah, sometimes you know a rare language and they only know that, and they're willing to, you know, they're really looking for, it's hard to find people, so you know you could get that job or whatever, but it's better to have more options. Does that kind of answer your question? Or is still?
Yeah, it does. I wasn't too like looking into any of those things. I just, as I would read and learn about what we learn about, I would see a lot of references to a lot of other libraries or languages, and it just got me thinking like, man, like I don't really know where you focus.
Yeah, well, and that's why we're giving you focus. Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds like you gave it. We're good.
yeah. So just focus on this and don't stress out about the thousands of other options there are out there. So, all right.
Brandon, I think that, hello, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just feel, I feel very overwhelmed with everything because I feel like we are just like, how can I say it? Like barely touching into one language, and you don't really have any time to fully understand, to fully comprehend the syntax, and also to understand the its concept of limitations, that we're already starting something else. So I feel like if we would have been able to master at least one and then see its limitations, and then use, just like the CSS actually enhanced HTML, and then we fully master CSS, and then we also see that maybe jQuery enhances CSS once we understand CSS limitations. That would have made more sense, because there's so many syntaxes that's just like, it's very hard to keep track and understand everything at once.
Yeah, and maybe not even master it, but just practical application to it. Maybe have us dive in a little bit more while we're doing it, so we have a point of reference into how it's going to be utilized, because we really don't know
pretty
how to
much the
apply it.
same. It's just you have to learn the different codes, the different ways they do things. They're all doing the same thing. They just have different commands. Once you learn the commands, you should be good to go.
I mean,
I've never dealt with computers at all. I'm an infantry guy. I don't know any of this stuff. But to me, all of this makes sense. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, it's just, you just have to remember the command codes, and that's the hard part.
So for one thing, yes, like you were saying, definitely we're not going to master it. But two, that's why we're taking the time to build your resume site as we do this. And we have that whole hour. We're just focusing on 1 hour at a time. the other hour is supposed to be focusing on your resume site and playing around with the code you've learned, like testing it out on your test page, messing around with it. And are you going to fully remember everything? No. But yes, we're kind of like really speeding through things. But my goal in doing that is once we're done speeding through things, then we're going to get to the practical application where you're going to be using all these things at once. And granted, you're just going to be using the basics of it, but that's what you're here to learn and really understand is the basics, and you're not going to be an expert in this field until you've been working in this field for many years. And so, I mean, yes, I can see how it's frustrating how we go from one thing to another, but you'll see once it's all done that you'll use all of them, like including, C# for mobile apps, because like once you're done building, your resume, or it's not your resume, your website and the back end for that and everything, then you're going to use the back end for that website to connect to your mobile app and start, because let's face it, like usually if you're going to have a website, you're also going to have a mobile app for it nowadays. But anyway, so like you're going to be building all those things at once. You're going to be using the CSS, using the Java, using JavaScript, using everything at once. So like we're really trying to familiarize you with it, so you remember, oh yeah, you can do that, and understand the concepts, and so that it's when you go to use it with practical application, you can come back and you've seen it before, and you understand like the big picture of it, how like the main things work, and you can take the specific syntax to, tweak it and do what you want. Like you just have to know in your head when you're like visualizing, okay, what I want to do. You just need to at least remember that it's possible, and then reference back how you do that possible thing. Does that kind of answer?
Brandon, I forget why I open the refrigerator door sometimes, man. My memory's not that good.
No, neither is mine. And trust me, like I've been doing this for many years now, and like I still reference back to a lot of things. So what was that? I thought somebody said something. But yeah, I still reference back to a lot of things. So like the important, sorry, it's frustrating. It keeps cutting out. But I was just saying, I've been doing this for many years, and I still reference back to a lot of things because I have memory issues too. And so the important part is just knowing what you want to do, what's possible, and then later, referencing back and figuring out the exact syntax of how to do that possible thing that you know. So does that kind of answer your guys' questions? If not, we can keep talking about this. I don't mind. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
can hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I think some of
We're
us are
good.
just slow learner, so that's all.
Yeah, and no worries, but just make sure you're definitely taking that hour after, after we're done, like to actually play around with things. And if you don't understand something while we're doing it, like ask. Like I love how Michael E's always asking questions, because I know a lot of you have those questions and you're just not asking. But like seriously, like understand it so you're at least familiar with it when we go through it. And then like if you're playing around with it during the hour after while you're like working on your resume and messing around with the stuff we learned for the day, like if something's not working or whatever, that's why I'm still here for that hour. You know, unmute and be like, hey, can you help me out? This isn't making sense. I'm not grasping this concept, or I'm plugging the code in and it's not doing anything like it's supposed to be, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, definitely take advantage of that hour. And once we get to practical stuff, you'll see that a lot of this stuff you're not even going to use, to be perfectly honest. Like you'll use some of like the basic stuff and do what you know, like you'll build what you need to build, and you won't use like probably 80% of the stuff we're learning on it like on an average day. So don't stress about it, and yeah, just keep on keeping on. All right, so let me go ahead and do share screen, and we'll finish this up. Okay. Fill in the blanks to set the font size and color of the paragraph. P.css font size, set that to 16. And PCSS color, set that to blue. Michael Lee, can you read this one?
Yes, multiple properties. To set multiple CSS properties, the CSS method uses JSON syntax. As you can see, the syntax consists of property value pairs, which are comma separated and enclosed in curly brackets. This will set the color and font size properties of the paragraph. You can specify any number of properties using the JSON syntax.
And I believe we've used JSON before, where it's just like dictionaries. Well, that's not what that's called in JavaScript. It's objects with the key value pair, and just you've got your squiggly brackets for JSON, and like each key value pair is separated by a comma. Okay, go ahead and answer the next question. Okay, fill in the blanks to set the color and width property of the div, div.css, and squiggly bracket, key value pair, color, red, comma, width, 50 pixels. All right, so that is a good place to stop. So let's see, that was 12, so we're ending on leaving off on 13. All right, so let me log out and log back in. I'll be right back.